You don't feel like other women, and this feeling has followed you for years, quietly and constantly, even when you tried to ignore it. It's not pride, and it's not ego, but a deep sense of isolation that shows up when the world feels loud and your heart feels heavy. You've learned how to smile in front of people, how to stay composed, how to say you're fine, even when something inside you feels quietly exhausted. Not weak, not broken, just carrying more emotional weight than most people can see. You feel things more deeply. You notice what others overlook. And you carry questions about purpose that don't fade with time. And sometimes you wonder why your path feels heavier, even when you're trying to stay faithful and hopeful. But what if this weight is not a mistake? What if the loneliness, the sensitivity, and the quiet strength inside you are signs that God is shaping you for something greater? Because God has always chosen people who felt set apart long before they ever understood why. One of the strongest signs that God has chosen you is that your life has shaped you through quiet struggles rather than easy comfort. While others were learning how to enjoy life without thinking too deeply, you were learning how to endure, how to stay steady when things felt uncertain, and how to carry responsibilities that came earlier than expected. From a young age, you were pushed into emotional maturity. You learned how to process disappointment silently, how to keep going when support was limited, and how to hold yourself together even when your heart felt tired and unseen. These experiences didn't make you cold or distant. Instead, they made you thoughtful, careful, and deeply aware of what people feel beneath their words. You noticed that pain didn't harden you the way it does for many people. It softened you. It gave you empathy, patience, and the ability to sit with silence without needing to escape it. You became someone who listens more than speaks, who feels deeply, and who carries a sense of responsibility for others, even when no one asked you to. There were seasons when you questioned God quietly, not with anger, but with confusion and exhaustion. You wondered why your path felt heavier, why answers came slowly, and why joy seemed delayed when you were trying to stay faithful. Still, something inside you refused to walk away completely, because even in uncertainty, your heart sensed that meaning was hidden in the waiting. God often prepares His chosen ones in silence. He develops inner strength, discernment, and emotional depth long before revealing purpose. What felt like delay was shaping. What felt like loneliness was training. You may not see it clearly yet, but the resilience you carry, the compassion you show, and the quiet faith you've held onto are not accidental. They are signs of preparation, not punishment. Another powerful sign that God has chosen you is the way you often feel misunderstood, even by people who genuinely care about you. You try to explain your heart, your thoughts, your emotions, but words fall short, and eventually you stop explaining altogether. Because being misunderstood hurts less than being constantly questioned. You've learned to live with a quiet distance between you and the world. Not because you don't love people, but because you feel deeper than most. And not everyone knows how to hold that kind of depth without minimizing it. So you listen more than you speak. You observe more than you react. And slowly you become the one who understands everyone, while feeling understood by almost no one. There are moments when this loneliness feels heavy. You watch others connect easily, laugh freely, move forward without overthinking, while you pause, reflect, and carry questions that don't have simple answers. And sometimes, you wonder if something is wrong with you for feeling so much and fitting in so little. But this sensitivity is not a weakness. It's awareness. It's discernment. It's the ability to see beneath the surface while others only see what's obvious. God, often sets chosen people apart emotionally before he sets them apart purposefully. He allows them to feel alone, so they learn how to hear his voice without noise, approval, or constant validation from people. You may not realize it yet, but the seasons where you felt unseen were strengthening your inner foundation. You were learning who you are without applause. You were discovering faith that doesn't depend on comfort or clarity. God does not waste isolation. He uses it to shape people who will one day stand steady, love deeply, and lead gently without needing recognition. Another sign that God has chosen you is the inner pull you feel toward purpose, even when you don't fully understand it. It's not ambition, and it's not pressure from people, but a quiet sense that your life is meant to matter in a deeper way than comfort or routine. You felt this pull during ordinary moments, when nothing special was happening on the outside, but something stirred inside you. A restlessness that doesn't push you to chase attention, but instead calls you to grow, to reflect, and to become more grounded in who you are. You don't crave noise or recognition. What you crave is meaning. You want your life to reflect truth, integrity, and compassion, even if that path feels slower and lonelier than others. There have been times when you tried to ignore this inner calling. You told yourself to settle, to stop thinking so deeply, to live like everyone else. But no matter how hard you tried, that quiet voice never left. This is often how God speaks to those He has chosen. Not through loud instructions, but through persistent impressions that guide the heart long before the mind understands. You've also noticed that success defined by the world doesn't satisfy you for long. Even when things go well, something inside you asks, "Is this all?" That question isn't dissatisfaction, it's discernment. God places that awareness inside chosen people so they don't lose themselves chasing things that can't fulfill them. You are being drawn toward a life that aligns with who you truly are, not who you are expected to be. This calling may feel unclear now, but clarity comes through faithfulness, not force. God doesn't rush the ones He chooses. He leads them step by step, shaping the heart before revealing the destination. Another sign that God has chosen you is the pattern of delays and closed doors you've experienced throughout your life. Just when things seemed ready to move forward, something slowed down, shifted, or stopped completely, leaving you confused and questioning the timing of everything. You watched others advance quickly while your path unfolded slowly. You tried to stay patient, but inside you wondered why progress always seemed just out of reach, even when you were doing your best to remain faithful. These delays were not punishments. They were protection. God was preventing you from stepping into places and relationships that would have weakened your spirit before you were ready. You may not have understood it then, but every pause was shaping your discernment. You were learning to wait without losing hope, to trust without seeing results, and to remain grounded when outcomes felt uncertain. God often slows down the people He intends to trust with greater responsibility. He strengthens their character, refines their motives, and deepens their faith so they don't collapse under future weight. There were moments when waiting felt unbearable. Moments when you questioned whether you were falling behind or being forgotten altogether. But God does not forget the ones He chooses. What felt like stagnation was alignment. What felt like rejection was redirection. God was guiding you away from what was easy so He could lead you toward what was right. The final sign that God has chosen you is the quiet transformation that has been happening inside you. Even when your outer life still feels unfinished, you are not the same person you were years ago. And the change didn't come from success or comfort, but from reflection, patience, and faith learned in silence. You've noticed that you no longer react the way you used to. You pause more. You choose your words carefully. You seek peace instead of winning arguments, and truth instead of approval. This inner shift didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen by accident. God changes His chosen ones from the inside out. Before He changes circumstances, He changes character. Before He gives direction, He builds discernment. And before He brings clarity, He strengthens trust. There were moments when you felt unseen, uncelebrated, and unsure if your efforts even mattered. But those were the very moments shaping your integrity, teaching you how to remain faithful without recognition and how to stay grounded when no one was watching. You've learned that faith is not about constant certainty. It's about steady commitment. It's about continuing forward even when the destination feels unclear and trusting that God sees what you cannot. What makes you different is not perfection, but perseverance. You stayed open-hearted when closing off would have been easier. You stayed faithful when walking away would have felt justified. And you stayed gentle in a world that often rewards hardness. God often chooses people like this. Not the loudest, not the fastest, but the ones who grow quietly, trust deeply, and remain faithful even when the journey feels long. And even if your life still feels incomplete, the work within you is already strong, steady, and meaningful. If this message reached you today, it's because something inside you was already listening. Not everyone will understand this kind of quiet faith, this slow journey, or this deep inner work. But you felt it because it matches what God has been doing in your life all along. You've carried questions without easy answers. You've stayed faithful without guarantees. And you've kept moving forward even when no one noticed how hard it was. That kind of perseverance is rare. And it doesn't come from strength alone. It comes from trust. If you're in a season where the path still feels unclear, don't rush yourself. God is not finished with you. What feels slow is often sacred, and what feels silent is often where the deepest growth happens. So take a moment right now and acknowledge what God has already carried you through. Not with fear, not with pressure, but with gratitude and trust. If this message spoke to you, let it be a reminder that you are not behind, forgotten, or misplaced. You are being prepared. And if you're walking this faith journey quietly, subscribe and stay connected here. This space is for those who grow slowly, trust deeply, and believe that God still works powerfully in the unseen.